All right, I want to start over again because I just didn't like what tangents I was going on, and I didn't want to take away from the overall message here. Okay, so y'all know you've been around me for a while, and lately my tone on my Facebook has been changing a little bit because of what I'm focusing on. And the reason why I'm focusing a lot on the salt and in defense of J Juice and kind of exploring and looking at my haters now, finally, like I'm finally going to read the BuzzFeed article. I'm finally going to read all of the different articles that are out there. And, it's time that I take on the haters in a lot of different ways. Now, no, I'm not going to get mired in and go into these groups and just debate continuously. Okay, I'm not going to do that. That's a waste of my time. But there are constructive ways to tackle these types of issues um, that will give a great return on everybody's investment. Okay. And so, yeah, I did, I do a little tweeting here and there in response. And sometimes, I do get people are just like, what the heck? And I do give them some links. And so, you know, this is the year where I have that energy to do that. Okay. Where I can focus on responding a little bit to the naysayers. Now, I'm not going to do a whole lot of it because I don't want to waste my time on everybody, but there are certain things that I do want to put out there. However, yeah, I mean, last year it was crazy, crazy. Okay, last year I'm doing a lot of research. I'm beholden to all of you, first and foremost, those of you who are doing the J Juice. And I don't know how many of you are doing the J Juice, and I don't know how many trolls that are pretending to be my friends either, but it doesn't even matter. Last year, I was focusing on getting the science all figured out. That was my first focus. So I put everybody that was naysaying on the back burner. And I didn't even want to get distracted because it would take away from my overall research. It would take away from all of you. And it wouldn't serve me if I only had half the science figured out, but then ignore that I only had half the science figured out and then kept responding to the haters. It wouldn't have been a very good return on my investment. It would have been a waste of time. So now finally, I got the science figured out. I figured out a million ways to say the same thing. Whether or not people get and understand where I'm coming from, it doesn't matter. But, I don't mind calling out specific key people out there that are huge influencers that claim to be chemists, that claim to be students of biology, that claim to be these all-knowing types about science, but yet fail to understand the role of lactofermentation, the role of salt, the role of electrolytes, the role of probiotics, which is the same thing as lactofermentation. Understanding that, when I was probed by officials, that I was able to stand up and give them what they were looking for and have the only response back be that please just change your advertising. It doesn't fit within the guidelines of FDA/biotech. Well, I would totally happen to agree, like totally, because my juice isn't a cure. It's not something that needs to be FDA regulated, so it's not something that you can claim that can have all these different cures for specific targeted diseases, because poisons and other types of negative elements do target specific diseases, and that is under FDA regulation. Okay, so of course my stuff could never be something that you could say it will do this, this, and this for this specific symptom, because we're not dealing with poisons and messing with specific hormones to elicit a specific outcome. Okay, so they were totally correct in that arena, even though I wanted to be able to play in the poisons world, touting the same thing, but have a different slant on it. No, it's all or nothing. If I'm going to be a cure, then it has to be a poison with a specific purpose, and I must join the club to then have everything be peer reviewed with double-blind studies. But Jilly Juice isn't a poison. It's not a cure. It is a strategic juice that has live active cultures that isn't poisonous. So there's nowhere in the allopathic holistic industry where I would ever be able to fit within. And especially since I pointed out yesterday that the Hippocratic Oath is based upon mitigating pain. Okay? So when the Hippocratic Oath is based upon mitigating pain, of course they're not going to be like, hey, we're going to bring up pain because pain is healing. That's not their purview. So I would never, ever be able to fit within any type of holistic allopathic arena. And so that's why J-juice can never be categorized in anything. That's why there's such misunderstanding around J-juice, because everybody wants to anesthetize themselves. Okay? But we already know this. Most of you that are watching me, you already know this. So it's not like I need to belabor the point. But however, through my research, I'm not always very diplomatic. And some of my stuff has been mischaracterized. And I probably may have said things in passing that may have alluded to the fact that I was being discriminatory or purposely putting out hate speech. And of course, that is completely untrue. Some of my information and what I've said on Facebook Lives or even written out has been mischaracterized because people don't understand that, my research regarding why it is that humanity, or why it is that animals, or why it is that we procreate, when I look at what would trigger procreation, well, it's the threat of extinction. How else can you say it? I mean, I could say mutations, but the threat of extinction is what triggers procreation. So what would be deemed as a threat of extinction? Cancer, disease, and chronic illness. Cancer, disease, and chronic illness is a threat for extinction. Not a threat to extinction, but it's a threat of extinction, threat of life. Okay? So, when there's a threat of extinction in any type of biodiversity, then that's where nature kicks in and starts procreating. Now, did I know back then exactly what the right model? We only know what the model that we know in our societies when you have specific types of people who are able to then create a baby. Okay, that's all we know. We don't know really anything else. We don't. So that was the standpoint that I came from. Well, through further research, through looking at the Bible, through looking at Greek mythology, we are now seeing that maybe there are other ways of which humans can procreate that are probably giving a nod to some of the lifestyles out there that some people may deem, as alternative. So this is where I was like, hey, maybe we were originally parthenogenic. Okay, with J-juice, you're bringing in strategic nutrition. We don't know what normal is. And so, we're going to find out. But possibly now, maybe we're thinking of that. Maybe, we could have been parthenogenic. We could have been hermaphroditic back then. We could have been all these different categories, and maybe straight male and female was maybe the mutation. I don't know. Okay. So anyways, that was some of the things that I was exploring, but I didn't say that right off the bat because that's not where I was going right off the bat. When you're doing layers and layers of research, you're not going to have all the answers, all at once. You're going to go through a period of questioning. And that means everything. Nothing is left, no stone is left unturned, because I'm not going to discriminate and not question one thing because it might be politically incorrect. No, I'm going to question it all because everything is on the table. Not, we shouldn't ignore this area because it's going to offend somebody. But how we say it obviously is going to be the key. And back then, as mutated as I wasn't saying things in the most diplomatic manner, and I get it. And so a lot of people were offended. And of course, Dr. Phil capitalized that and preserved that moment of my time, which I know it kind of pisses off some of you, not really pissed off, but some of you who are trying to introduce J-juice to a bunch of people, and they're always referring to Dr. Phil or some other article out there. It's like, it's working uphill. But then, I given some people some key things on how to explain this to people, that the fears that are out there are people isolating one or two elements out of my juice and demonizing it and not taking into account there is an actual chemical process between all of the components of the recipe. And then the juice is deemed probiotic and it's a pro-life drink. And a lot of people don't understand fermentation out there, would never get it because they've never been exposed to fermentation or probiotics in the manner of making it in your own home. And so, I'm trying to help people that are trying to explain to their friends who are referring to those articles how to overcome those objections. Okay. So, but, for me to get to this point, I had to go through Dr. Phil. I had to go through the OAG. I had to go through all of this crazy fire that, no, I don't particularly enjoy, but it was a necessity, because when you get your adrenaline and your homeostasis interrupted, it has you get creative. I mean, people who are really, really creative have a lot of issues. It's because of their hormones are giving them extra things to express themselves and pull out strategic ways to express what they're feeling. And so I look at my creation of J Juice and the way in which I present J Juice as an artistic creation. Okay, I've done art in the past. I've had my own hormonal angst, been able to draw very abstract figures with colors and this and that. And that was a reflection of the state that I was in probably 20 years ago. Okay, so, but now I don't turn to art anymore as a way to express myself because I don't have that same kind of angst. And so that does speak to then what is going on inside of me, and then what it is I'm creating today, because you can channel your hormones, your energy, to reflect what your goals are currently today. And some of us are trying to figure out how to, change our careers and channel our energy for good. Some of us are focusing on trying to figure out how to find loopholes in the system because, you might be a little nefarious. So everybody who has certain specific conditions in their body, whatever they are going to channel those conditions accordingly. And then when you see the outcome of their channeling, then you realize what seriously is going on inside of them. And, you may love it and you may not like it based upon your perception of the outcome of their channeling of their energy. So anyways, so at the time last year, I know that Kyle Curtis from Non Sequitur Show, he has a huge following and audience of a lot of different people who happen to have been offended by some of the research that I've been doing. And I completely understand. And I know that him and a lot of other people that are my naysayers like to band together and just do the Jilly Juice bash. And I completely get that, because it's like a comfortable gang of a family that they can kind of just do their thing. And I happen just to be the butt of it. But I also know that that feelings did get hurt. And not that I expect them to accept my apology in any way, which shape or form, whatever. I mean, that really is not my focus, is that I have the expectation that everybody that was offended by whatever I've said, and whoever it is I've offended, because I've offended a lot of different people, and it is what it is, but that, I do what's necessary to clean up those messes that are out there and explain myself in such a way where either they get it or they don't. And if they don't, then that's their choice. But at least I know I did 100%. Okay. So I sent this email to him. I was going to post it on my Facebook, but I didn't want somebody to mischaracterize that email. So I'd rather just read it and then let you all just understand that this is what I was saying, in case he posted on his show, and then all the different players out there that just go and feed off of it. But And some people say, well, you really, don't have to do that. You don't have to answer and explain yourself and be apologetic. No, but I acknowledge that feelings get hurt when when somebody happens to trample on them inadvertently. And I wasn't prepared to go and try to be politically correct. Okay, what I was trying to do was make a point about really exploring why it is that humanity is reproducing in so many different ways. What is going on when you're reproducing? There's a threat, of extinction somewhere, a threat of extinction. And when there's a threat of extinction, that speaks to something bigger than just our political platforms, because politics comes from fear, it comes from ignorance, and it comes from intolerance. And when you're on a political platform, that's where you're coming from. So it's going to be very hard to listen to logic when you're coming from fear, ignorance, and intolerance. So, I can't win for losing no matter what, but at least I can give and offer an explanation of where I was coming from. And then hopefully maybe they can find it within themselves to just sort of see where it is, that I was coming from, and not totally just think that I'm the evilest person out there. But they may very well think I'm the evilest person out there, and I can't help that. But at least I could, give them a sincere understanding of my thought process. So maybe they might find it within themselves to understand, because, everybody, we're all human. We all have friends and family with cancer, disease, and chronic illness. And it doesn't matter what politics you subscribe to, we're all still human. So I'm going to read this to Kyle because I was supposed to go on his show. And then I backed out last minute once I figured out what the show was, because I didn't do my research in the beginning. And I didn't say, let me research you first before I go and look. And when I finally did and saw that they were all gearing up for the live event, and I saw all the live people heckling each other and me, I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm in for. I really can't. Thanks, but no thanks. Not going to be a butt of your jokes. And so, yeah, he was polite on the email, but I can only imagine with everybody else setting up that were my naysayers, ready for the onslaught, what it would have turned into. And I wasn't prepared to deal with that. So, but here's the letter. So it says, Dear Kyle, first of all, I'm sorry for canceling on your show the last second, as I'm sure you had to scramble at the last minute to get another person, but I wasn't prepared to deal with the hecklers. And I still don't want to go on your show. But I want to give you a statement that you can read to yourself or read to whoever it is that's going to listen to you. By the way, if you'd like to let your audience know, Jilly Juice is a probiotic. And it's been tested with 13 million colony-forming units, which can actually live in 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 cups of water, and a nutritive element called cabbage and kale that your body needs. Whether or not it can reverse any procreation category, well, I was exploring that. And now that I've come up with, I have no idea, because I have no idea what we were originally to begin with. Everything is still left up in the air. We could have been originally parthenogenetic. We could have been originally hermaphroditic. And there could have been a split of male and female a long time ago. And maybe being just straight male and just straight female is a mutation. And maybe all the different procreation categories is the actual norm. And maybe being straight is a mutation. I don't know. I was just exploring ideas. And since I'm coming from the standpoint of being straight, I come from a very specific perspective that may have been very offensive to a lot of people. And it wasn't my intention. However, it seems that how I said it and what I said definitely became very sensationalized. So I own up to that. Oh, believe me, I know. I own up to that. But I do want to apologize to you, and I have no idea if I've even offended you, but I know that there are people that were offended by some of the thought processes and statements that came out earlier on in my research process. And whether or not you actually forgive me, which I don't expect, I'm still going to put it out there because it's a mess that I must clean up and own up to regardless of the outcome, as I have no expectation, but I know at least I did 100% to clean up any mess that I may have made regarding non sequitur and your audience. As I understand why your audience and you were truly offended by some things that I've said in the midst of my research that I do publicly. So yeah, when you research publicly, you're subject to everybody's opinions. That's why scientists don't do their research publicly too much. They kind of keep it under wraps and then they go and do a peer review. They actually write their thesis and report. But when they go through the thought process, the mind mapping, questioning all these different things, they're not going to do it publicly because they don't want things that they are researching and trying to figure out being mischaracterized, and then it would reflect badly on the actual outcome of the research. And so I'm still in the research phase, finding out what is truly normal based upon what I do, based on what I'll find out with chili juice. We have too many people dying of cancer, disease, and chronic illness, and most likely living on low sodium diets, electrolytes, deficient and malnourished. And we really need to correct this because we have friends and family that are dying from preventable diseases because they are malnourished. And I'm sure there are people in your world that are dying of cancer, disease, and chronic illness because they are electrolyte deficient, malnourished, living on low sodium diets. For whatever it's worth for you and all of your fans, whether or not they will be generous enough to understand where I'm coming from, I do want to extend an apology for offending anybody in any community because that was truly not my intention, as I'm trying to, again, figure out what humanity truly is meant for and how long we're supposed to live. And then I signed my name, and then I said, P.S. I do a lot of talk to text because I don't have time to write out grammatically correct paragraphs. And yes, I do run-on sentences, but I think you get the gist if you truly want to. Now, no, I was not required to do that. No, do I have to do all of that? No, I don't. But it was something I felt I must do because I know that Kyle Curtis and the Non Sequitur show caters to a very wide, progressive audience. And, you know, I may never, ever get the understanding from certain segments of the population, but at least they will know that I've made the attempt. And at least I know I've made the attempt. And they could say, oh, well, it's too little, too late. Oh, you can't backpedal now because now you're getting all this bad press. No, here's the thing. We all make mistakes thanks, Jackery. We all make mistakes in the midst of our growth process. There is nobody out there that grew up as a child never, ever making mistakes. Now, can I compare myself to a child making mistakes? Absolutely, because the J juice, you go through a healing process. You go through a major extensive healing process and you're going to have hormones, you're going to get triggered. There are going to be things coming to surface that you're not even going to expect. And someone is going to trigger you. You're going to react. You may say something that you really, would regret. And then you have to come back and apologize. Say, hey, I was in the middle of a healing process. I'm in the middle of this. I completely apologize. That was not my intention to hurt you. And then that's how we move on. There is no relationship in the world that is free from mistakes when you're in a growth process. And I'll tell you what, the J juice puts you in a growth process. Some of you have the luxury to do it, behind closed doors, and you don't have to air all of your growth process out there. But since I have a specific intention in mind is for people to understand the growth process and what it is that you're going to be dealing with, yes, I've purposely put myself out there for everybody to consume and take what they will from it. Some of you who are on the J juice will understand exactly what I'm going through because you're going through it too. And you don't have to put it out there publicly. Other people, are not doing J juice, so they would never understand. So all their characterizing me is from all the different meltdowns that I've had during this whole chili juice process. And that's okay. I mean, I don't mind making mistakes. I've made mistakes writing letters to different government agencies trying to figure out my rights. And so my letters are being put out there, which is fine because sometimes when you're trying to exercise your right as a human, as a business, as an individual in a society of America, you're going to work with systems that you're not familiar with. You're going to figure out how to attack specific issues, and it's not always going to be perfect. But you see, with all the mistakes that I've made, I've corrected them. Okay? I mean, when I made mistakes with the advertising, and so, or when I made mistakes of saying certain things in certain ways, and then guess what? Authority said, hey, you can't do this. You can't say this. This is, not okay. And then I said, okay, I'm going to change my advertising. I'm going to change this. I'm going to give you a report that you're looking for. So I've always complied and I've always corrected my mistakes. And that is, and I know I will continue to make mistakes from this point forward. Because when you are embarking on new territories, when you get outside of your comfort zone, when you take on new and different things that you have absolutely no experience in, and you're trying to figure out how to utilize a specific system or thing or anything, you're going to mess up. It's going to happen. And be okay with it. Mistakes happen all the time. You own up to it. That's right, Graham. Pushing boundaries. You own up to your mistakes. You realize you fucked up here. You messed up here. You own up to it, and then you move on, and then you do better. That's the only way you're going to learn and progress in this world, is if you actually risk making the mistakes. If you don't risk making the mistakes, how the hell are you going to progress in life? Mentally, physically, financially, everything. There is no freaking way anyone's going to move forward and progress in life, unless they are okay with making the mistakes. Okay? And so it's just kind of funny that my mistakes are out there. So now I'm like, I don't even care. I'll make mistakes on social media. I'll make mistakes on whatever. I mean, or on the Dr. Phil show or anything else, make mistakes even in my writing. I got typos up the, I do run-on sentence. Well, I do talk to text all the time. I don't have time to do these grammatically correct sentences that have everything all put together so nicely, like some writers out there that are trying to convey a story. No, I say things exactly how it is I see them at that time, because that's exactly where my thought process is coming from. Thank you, Jackery's son. I totally try to act with integrity. And I'm not always perfect at it, but I do try to act in that way. So yeah, so I know I get so much flack for typos, for run-on sentences, for all of that. And yeah, I'm totally guilty of that. I never said I was like a grammatically correct person as far as writing. I don't have a really good editor. And I try now, I mean, I think with this next book, Kevin and I can do the best we can to make it. I'll make sure I'll kind of help him edit, and he'll help me edit. And we'll try to convey and get things conveyed in the way that, but it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be grammatically incorrect in some ways. Okay? So I don't care if people want to point out all the grammatical incorrect, all the errors that I have. It doesn't matter. If you get the gist of where I'm coming from, fine. If grammatical errors turn you off, then I guess then you're not going to get the understanding of the article or get where it is I'm coming from. It's not that gibberish where you don't get it, but it's not going to be perfect. But if that's what's going to stop you from getting the information, then my God, what else is going to stop you? It's not then my grammatics is stopping you. You have a whole lot of other things that are stopping you from really getting my information, because people who are doing the J juice have dealt with my grammatically incorrect typos and paragraphs and run-on sentences. And it's funny, once that somebody said, "Holy Batman, run-on sentences." And I'm like, I know, when I have a whole paragraph, like 100 words, and it's all run. I completely get it. But I still was able to get a following despite all of my grammatically incorrect. Right, Graham, right. People who are looking for mistakes won't see the truth anyways. That's very true. Yeah, when you're looking for mistakes in my work, then your intention is not to see where I'm coming from. Your intention is to find a way to discredit. And if it means that a period is missing where it shouldn't be, and that would be the reason why you don't get it, well, you wouldn't get it anyways. It wouldn't matter if a period or a comma or something else was there or not. So, I've been looking at all of my critics. I've been reading all of the backgrounds of the people that are attacking J-Juice. And it's just really, it's fascinating, and I don't even, Some of them are really young still, so they got a while before they start triggering stuff. And I hate to say it, but in the next 10, 15 years, they're going to be singing a different tune. There's going to be other things going on with them that they're not prepared for. When you're on the social media platforms just hammering, the war drums all the time, that's taxing. That is super taxing. And I don't plan to be like responding to all of my naysayers from this point forward forever. No, I just plan to deal with whatever I dealt with what was going on last year, this year. Okay, so 2017, I rolled this out, not too much fanfare. And then 2018, everyone what is it? The shit hit the fan 2018. 2018 was a very, very interesting year. 2018. That's 2 and 1 is 3. 8 and 3 is 11. 2018, that is, right? 2018, when you actually do the numerology, that's like a new beginning. That's when the upset of homeostasis happened. That was the J-juice type of, homeostasis interruption. So 2017, roll it all out. 2018, everybody and their mother got on board with trying to figure out what WTF, who the heck is this girl? And when I read the Newsweek article and some of these professors that are saying that I'm going to get prosecuted, I'm going to get this, I'm going to be put in jail, and it hasn't happened yet. You have to wonder, when they look at the recipe, they had to have known that probiotics were involved with this. I can't even imagine why the science reporters like Nidhi Subaram, who graduated from MIT, and then, that Natalie Rahal, who's a health science reporter for Daily Mail, and then that, what is it? I forget her name, something Gander, Krishma Gander or something from Newsweek, how they would not have figured out that this isn't poisonous. It wouldn't have caused anybody's death. How could they not have known that this recipe of cabbage, water, and salt fermented when sauerkraut is a major popular probiotic? How they wouldn't have known this? And then to actually purposely tie me to a hospice patient's death, that's like oil and water. Those two don't mix. Probiotics and a person dying from antibodies and cancer, the probiotics wouldn't kill a cancer-ridden person. But what they were doing was focusing on one element that everybody was fearful of. I know, Jack, people are still petrified of this. I know they are. They don't understand the chemical process, the chemistry behind the cabbage, water, and salt and probiotics. And that's what lately I've been focusing on, is those fears around the salt. But what is saving my ass? Okay, what's saving my ass is the fact that I got my juice tested. And the fact that it was tested in a food lab, and there's 13 million colony-forming units of lactobacillus, though they call it lactic acid plate, because that's the byproduct of lactobacillus is lactic acid. But it's matched with the salt. Okay? It's matched with the water, the cabbage, and the kale, all of that. And so, you can't legislate morals, and you can't force someone to understand a difficult concept like lactofermentation. There's no way you can force someone to understand chemistry if they don't want to understand chemistry, because, they're so focused on why is it that people were in pain. Well, trying to explain that the juice releases the prostin, nice, Graham. I wish there was a way I can explain the prostaglandin hormone is being released, which aids in the healing process, but also gives you the sensation of pain. I wish there was a way to explain it easier for some of those that are still stuck in people were saying they have all these issues. Well, it wasn't the J juice that caused the issues. They brought those issues to the table. When somebody has a reaction when they're drinking J juice, it's not because the J juice did it, which is so hard for people to get, because they're so used to seeing that when someone eats something like food poisoning or like a bad food, and then they have diarrhea and they have all these things, they think it's food poisoning, which most likely out there when you're eating like Taco Bell and sushi and you get food poisoning, you're throwing up and diarrhea, that would be a natural connection for someone to make. But then you have to look at the context of the situation. Pathogens are going to induce autophagy in some way, but you're only getting half the battle when it comes to autophagy when it responds to poisons. But with J juice, you're in a different context. It's not poisonous, okay? But you have poisons inside of you that cause mutations. And so what J juice does, it just releases the prostaglandin hormone, aids in the healing process. The sensation of pain. You're going to be purging out the foreign objects and the poisons and the yeast and the excess yeast and all that stuff out of your body. The water is the carrier force. It has electrolytes, so you're not, you're getting your electrolytes. It has the probiotic, which is the good gut bacteria, 13 million CFU in your gut, healing you. But people still don't understand the role of pain. They think that pain is something that is not good. And that's the hardest concept to really, the salt and the pain are the two major biggies that the people who don't understand, that's what they focus on. And if that's what you want to focus on, if that's what you want to use to discredit me, then there's nothing that I can say or do. But the only thing that's saving my ass is the fact that it's a probiotic. J juice is a probiotic. So it cannot possibly hurt you. And then people are left like, well, what the hell? If J juice is a probiotic and it can't hurt you, then why are people feeling pain? And then we haven't published anything that talks about the prostaglandin hormone, so they don't have any reference really to go to just yet. We're in the process of doing that right now as we speak, and Kevin is working on his end of it. I'm already got my stuff done, but Kevin wants to make sure that this book is going to be the best ever. And so he's a perfectionist. And just so you guys know, we're not going to be releasing the book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or any ebook outlets. We're not going to be releasing it as an ebook style. It is strictly only going to be paperback through Lulu with no return policy. You cannot return the book. You cannot get it in an ebook style. It will only be sold through Lulu at whatever price that him and I agree upon. So if people truly want the book, they'll buy it through Lulu as far as the extra science that I have. People are like, well, I want an ebook. I can't get the paperback. Well, I'm sorry. There is going to be no ebook because I have been dealing with people pirating my book. And I told Lulu that last night. I said, hey, can I do this? Can I do a no return policy? Can I do only a paperback book? They're like, why? Because we have people pirating the book and putting it all over websites. I think Torrent is one of those websites where they're taking my book and my ebook and just giving it out for free. But I don't know what they're doing as far as subverting the text or what. I don't know. So that's why I say don't get my book for free from some website, because you don't know what they did to it, what they added to it. You just don't know. But that's illegal. Pirating and procuring pirated material is illegal. Totally illegal. And so, so that's how Kevin and I are going to mitigate and protect our work. Now, we can't stop someone from making copies of pages and then putting them on the internet, but that is a lot of work to do. But I mean, yeah, there's no way, for us to totally 100% stop people from posting stuff for free. I mean, there are news agencies that want people to subscribe to and pay 99 cents a month for all their articles. And then people are going in and as a member and copy and pasting and putting it on their Facebook page. So nobody is buying the subscription to a specific paper if somebody is just putting it out there for free. So it happens. I mean, every news agency, every single whatever out there on the net, they all deal with it because everybody wants something for free. And I get it. But if we can make it harder, then we will. Okay? Yeah, Jackery, I'm looking forward to all of this too. I can't wait for the book either. So, I mean, I'm working my ass off. In a lot of ways, I'm working my ass off. And I'm excited. Next month's gonna be a really awesome banner month. Lots going on in May, and I'll let you guys know down the road. But yeah, things are moving along swimmingly. And they need to. And it's high time that I do address my naysayers in a constructive manner. And no, I'm not going to be doing just endless back and forth debates. No. I mean, I did a little bit of tweeting today, just back and forth with some of the people, but that's not going to be the focus like every day. Believe me, I don't want to get mired into debates with people who truly don't have the intention to understand. But I'm willing to give people some information that are looking for specific things, like the paperwork from the food lab. Okay. Thanks, Graham. Yeah, I am very relaxed. I'll tell you what. My little histrionics last week was a healing symptom of my adrenals. I can totally tell that. But yeah, I'm not going to be doing back and forth, tweeting back and forth, getting mired into debate with people who don't really care or don't understand. They just want to keep probing me. So, they either will get it or they won't. And that's it. That's all I have for them. But there are ways to address my naysayers in a constructive manner, and that's what I'm working on as we speak. Is how am I going to address my naysayers in a constructive manner where it's going to give me a great return on my investment? And that's what it comes down to. Because if you're going to give your energy to anyone or anything, you better make it worth your while in whatever manner. Okay? It doesn't always have to be financial. It doesn't always have to be, principled. It could be a combination of so many different things. And so you will have to determine how much your energy is worth. And if you don't know your own worth, then don't go and try to utilize your energy until you realize what your energy is worth. Okay? And so that's one of the biggest takeaways from J Juice, is realizing your worth. And a lot of people discount their worth and they just give away themselves for free with absolutely no return on their investment. And that's unfortunate. But that's the way of the world. Okay, I'm going to go do my thing. I have things I got to do. But I just wanted to give you guys a hey, what's up? Glad to see ya. And just keep doing the J Juice. I'm working hard on my end on a lot of different fronts, and so is my inner circle working hard on their ends on many different fronts. We all have different lives going on, different goals and different things, but we are finding ways to really band together. So I'm so, so thankful for my inner circle, Lillian, Kevin, Bridget, okay? Because they work really hard. They really have. And they've been there for me, supporting me. I know Masa, she has a lot of contributions, and she's been working with her people. And then there's Krista McGinn, who, and her contributions, and Graham, and all of you guys that are really just contributing to the overall message. Okay? And so I really, truly am thankful for all of your energy, your hormones, because you realize that that you are worth something and you're getting something back. What you give to me, you're getting so much back. And so it's a great symbiotic relationship. And that's really what relationships need to be, a symbiotic quid pro quo. It doesn't always have to be equal quid pro quo, but enough to where you see that someone isn't completely parasitic. Because that's what we're trying to mitigate, is the parasites out of our lives. Okay? And so that's why you do J Juice, is that way you can wash away the parasites out of your lives, wash away the excess, the imbalances, all of that, so you can lead a very amazing life where you're not always focused on activism, politics, and catering to that lowest common denominator, because it doesn't serve us really well, obviously. All right. Have a good day, you guys. Talk to you later.